Hello, and welcome to the first SWEBINAR of 2015. Today's topic, by popular request, is On the Cutting Edge, 2015 Marketing Trends. We have an extremely robust conversation planned for you today. So as we've said before, this is meant to be interactive. Send us your questions as you have them. You can use hashtag SWEBINAR or tweet at SliceComm, SLICECOMM. We have an incredible group of panelists here with us today, and I'm so grateful to all of them for participating. I'm going to start with Michelle. Michelle is currently with IBM. Michelle, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. So I currently lead the strategy and solutions for IBM's social business, which is actually a large category of solutions made up of everything from digital marketing to internal collaboration, talent management, and of course a lot of our amazing analytics tools. I have a background in both B2C and B2B marketing, and I joined IBM in 2010 through the acquisition of Coremetrics, the web analytics company. So love digital and optimization and everything that data allows us marketers to do.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much. There are many, many questions here for you for today, so thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We also have Bashara from Philly Marketing Labs. Bashara, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do there?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Bashara Jowde. I'm with Philly Marketing Labs. At Philly Marketing Labs, we help mid-sized traditional companies succeed online. We help them drive leads and sales through paid search, SEO, social media, email marketing. We work on strategy and things like persona development and online listening. So I look forward to our chat today, and thank you so much, Cass, for hosting us.
So glad to have you. Thanks so much. And finally, we have Jason from JRM Communications. Jason, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. My actually background starts in television, news, and radio. I'm a way back Temple University graduate, so I'm missing Philadelphia, but glad I could be on in some way through the world of technology. I've been hosting, I'd rather had my PR and marketing consultancy since 2010. I have a background in agency PR, and I've worked at a university in their PR and communications. I work with clients anywhere from Fortune 500 to small businesses. So I've been working with doing social media plans, but also doing traditional PR as well. So I'm glad to be here and glad to be talking with everybody on this, what should be a great webinar for 2015.
Thanks so much, Jason. And I have a couple people here in the office who are making me say, "Go Owls."
Go Owls!
You should.
And welcoming you.
Absolutely.
Welcoming you to our chat. Anita Andrews from RJ Metrics was going to be on our chat today, but unfortunately due to a family emergency, she's fine, but due to a family emergency, she couldn't join us. I would like to say that Anita will likely be on a future webinar, and we will be happy to have her. But if you have any questions that you had intended specifically for her, you can tweet them to her. You can do it at RJ Metrics or at Anita's Twitter handle, which is right below where this video is broadcasting. And we wish her and her family the best. Okay, thanks. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind everybody one more time that this is meant to be an interactive session. We've already received questions from many of you, and we are very thankful for them. But please feel free to send additional questions in as the conversation progresses. Again, you can do that on Twitter by tweeting at SliceComm with 2 M's or using hashtag SWEBINAR. Our chat will take about an hour, so stay tuned as the conversation will change based on the questions we receive. Okay, we're going to start today, even though this chat is primarily intended to look forward, we're going to start by looking back a little bit at 2014. So, Michelle, I'll start with you. What was the most interesting trend you saw develop in 2014?
I think it's really sort of a progression and almost a level set, sort of a jumping off point for 2015, which I think is going to be a really exciting year for digital marketing. But some of the things that we really saw was an increase in employee advocacy and branding from inside the company, really leveraging social tools to enable employees to actually act as ambassadors of the brand, really bringing that authentic brand persona to life by enabling employees to really represent brands across the world.
Fantastic. Jason, how about you? What did you see in 2014?
You know, I was really excited to see how mobile really started to even more take hold of the marketplace. So you saw everything move from basically kind of in looking back at it to now it's right in front of you. I know that sounds kind of odd, but how many times are we seeing ads pop up on our mobile devices now, whether it be a tablet or even on your iPhone or your Android phone? Mobile really blew up, and you just see how big it's gotten. And I think for even 2015, we're going to see it grow even more because people are on the go. And not like we're any less on the go now than we were, say, 5 years ago, but everyone has access to everything now via mobile device, via tablet, and let's be honest, the days of sitting down in front of your computer are sort of waning, and the more you can be on the go and do things, advertisers and marketers want to reach you in the right spot. And where can they reach you? While you're on the go. So hit you up on your phone. So that's what I think was one of the bigger things of 2014.
Thank you. And Bashara, we're going to wrap up with you. What was the biggest thing that you saw in 2014?
Yeah, I definitely want to echo what Jason said about mobile traffic. We experienced an increase in mobile traffic across the board for all of our clients. I mean, we're talking 40 to 50% increase year over year. So it was really, really strong change compared to 2013. In addition to mobile just traffic, mobile e-commerce was another big one that we saw as well. And then all of those things are positive, but on the negative front too, we saw Facebook organic discovery drop, which we had to position against as marketers, and I'm sure that will come up further in the conversation. And then how can we all ignore the selfie? Come on, the selfie was born last year, so
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for those insights. Okay, let's.
And I think that the interesting thing about the selfie is I really think is sort of that convergence of mobile and social together. I mean, it's the epitome of that, right? People taking their mobile devices in real time and then sharing it out to the world. Yeah, I think it's just sort of indicative of directionally where we're going.
And look at what Time Magazine, didn't they name Ellen's selfie the photo of the year this year? So I'm sure marketers all over the world are like, how can we grab onto that and get Time to name us the photo of the year? So yeah, I mean, look at that perfect example of the melding the both.
Yes.
And actually, it also had a lot to do with local marketing too, right? Because all selfies are place-based by their nature.
That's right.
Okay, let's start with you. Tell us, what are you most looking forward to in 2015?
You broke off, Cass. Did you say my name?
No, sorry, Jason. Why don't we start with you?
Okay.
Oh, no, no problem. What I'm looking forward to, I want to see how social can be more diverse. And I know that may sound odd because really, I mean, there's so many social platforms, but we always focus on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. And for me, I want to see how we can dig down and really find the ones that are going to be more helpful for my clients and maybe for the world in general. For me, I love Facebook, I love Twitter, but how can we use YouTube better? Hey, how can we use Google better? Look, we're using a Google Hangout. Why can't we use Google more as a network to reach people? And frankly, I'd like to see, I think one of the things that was hurt was, I like looking at Facebook and what it did with Swarm. I thought that was a big mistake last year. However, people are still using it. So how can Swarm be used better for your marketing and things like that? So I'm looking at seeing more diversity. And I, as far as Vine videos go and things like that, we hear a lot about Vine, but you see it, but you don't always hear a ton about it. Now, people may disagree because there are people that share their Vine videos, but with Instagram also using video, it's really cut into whether you're going to use Vine or whether you're going to use Instagram. So I'm looking to see how much more diverse we can get in 2015 with our social marketing and social networks.
Awesome, and I'm definitely going to follow up on some of those questions because we got some of them from the audience. Bashara, what are you looking forward to in 2015?
I think in the same vein of diversity, beyond social media, we're seeing a lot of diversity in the devices and the channels people are using to access information. And as marketers, we look at things. We're very analytical at Philly Marketing Labs, so we look at attributions and which channel gets the credit and which device gets the credit. So this multi-device, multi-channel attribution is a big ball of wax that we look forward to tackling in 2015. Especially given mobile, people start on their desktop and finish conversions on their mobile devices. So there's a big disconnect there, and it's a blind spot for us as marketers. So tackle, and it's definitely not going to be resolved in 2015, but this is because of the rise of mobile. It's becoming a bigger question mark, and I look forward to rolling our sleeves up and coming up with some solutions to tackle that.
Okay, and Michelle, we'll kind of wrap up with you on this question. What are you looking forward to in 2015?
Yeah, I have two major things that I'm looking forward to. So the first one, and it feels like we've been talking about it forever, for years, right, is real video. And I was just reading an article this morning that said Facebook has 75% more video posts this year than the same time last year, which is huge. So we're finally seeing that video really pick up. So I think that we're really going to see a lot of video in different channels in 2015. The second thing that I'm really excited about is data. As we, kind of look at CES and all of the new things that are coming out, wearable technology, the fact that we've got all of this data as marketers to leverage, I think that we're just going to get more and more sophisticated at leveraging that data for really exciting marketing opportunities. And of course, that comes with a risk, not over inundating people with offers and messages. But I think that it's going to be fun to figure out and see how people and different companies leverage that in 2015.
So this could be the year of the video selfie, perhaps.
Yeah.
Could be. We'll see. Okay, we
get
have
a feeling that Cass, you like selfies.
What was that?
I get a feeling, Cass, that you like selfies. So maybe we should all take a selfie of the screen after we're done here.
Oh, we could all take a selfie of the screen. We'll tweet that. That'll be good.
Well, Cass, the biggest category of products coming out of CES this week are the selfie sticks.
Yes.
So maybe we get you one of those. That's a pretty trending product nowadays.
Oh, my husband would kill me. Taking selfie videos all the time. Okay, we have a lot of audience questions, so we're going to try to get to as many of them as possible. The first one really rose to the top for us. It's a topic that a lot of people talked about last year, but we want to talk about it as it relates to next year. How will measuring results of a digital marketing campaign change in 2015? Bashar, I'm going to start with you on that one.
Wow, that's a big one. Where do we start? Let's start at the basic level. So first things first, there are so many innovations and so many reports now you can run in whatever tracking tool you use. Google Analytics is the one most people use. It's free. If you don't have it, you must. First things first, make sure you have your tracking in place properly. Make sure you have all your conversion points tracked, all your goals, all your events, because that's going to serve as the basis. So when you go out and you try to introduce newer, more innovative reports to run, they're functioning properly because you have your setup correctly, because your data is going to be as good as your setup. So make sure you have that in place. And how do I see that changing? I think for small companies that don't have apps and they don't have multiple websites that track traffic across them, it's going to be same as usual as we did last year, but it's going to be more demographic data layered on top. So there's going to be more layers. Think about it like Google Maps. You can see the basic map, or you can put topography on there, or you can put like a satellite view. So the basis is the same. You're just getting more granularity and more detail. For bigger advertisers and bigger marketers with apps and things like that, it goes back to the point that I made earlier with multi-device and multi-channel attribution. So being able to tell that while this customer came to my site 3 times, once from their desktop, once from their tablet, and once from their smartphone, it was the same customer. So being able to tie them all together and attribute that conversion to the first point of contact is going to be changing as we move forward and as we get more sophisticated. But at the end of the day, make sure you have your setup properly, because the last thing you want to do is making strategic decisions on false data. So, yeah.
Michelle, do you have some thoughts on that as well? How will measuring results change in 2015?
Yeah, I think, everything that Bashara has said is really accurate. I think it's going to be interesting to see how we do marry up that multi-device data. Facebook obviously can do that with their app data and your phone ID and tying that into your login on your desktop, and seeing how different advertising networks can actually marry that individual person's ID across device. And so I think that we're going to get more sophisticated, but ultimately, to Bashara's point, you have to start with the basics and then build in your complexity and sophistication.
Awesome. Okay, so this may be a follow-up question. Is print advertising dead? If so, is social media the only way to go with advertising anymore? Where should we be putting our marketing dollars moving forward to get the best bang for our buck? Michelle, I'm going to start with you on that one.
Sure. Ultimately, I think we need to think through integrated campaigns, right? It should be digital, social, mobile, and print. And I think that print can actually be used in a very strategic way, because people don't get the same personal touch that print postal mail actually delivers. So if you've built a conversion cycle and you've interacted with a user over multiple touch points, and then they have the opportunity to actually unwrap something or receive something in the mail, it can actually create a delightful experience. So I think it's all really about timing, finding, leveraging your data, figuring out where they are in their conversion cycle, their consideration cycle, targeting that specific message on the appropriate device and medium, and thinking through that really, really conscientiously. So I don't think that you sort of put one bet in any one medium. You really need to think through the full integrated campaign that's really going to work for your specific audience for that specific offer.
Jason, what do you think? Is social media the only way to go with advertising anymore?
I don't think so. I agree with Michelle. I mean, you really have to kind of look at it two ways. What does a client want, first of all? Do they want to dedicate a lot of money to, print marketing? And if they do, maybe find a way to say, hey, look, we can do a lot of money, we can do a lot of our funds into print, but let's try a little of the, as they used to call it, non-traditional, but social advertising and social marketing and things like that. From my perspective, when I deal with clients, I always give them the gamut. I'll tell them, hey, look, we can go, especially the smaller businesses, because some of the ones that I've dealt with in the past with my company is, they're more of the old school, and they're, oh, I want to put an ad in the paper, or let's do a quick, let's do a mailer, and I'm always very hesitant, because I say you have to realize that we can spend all of this money, and you could do all of that for half the money with social or with some other digital form of marketing. So while I don't think it's dead, it needs to evolve, and with it we have to convince clients, and not convince, but at least let them know that there are different ways to do things. If you feel you want to put 55, or 60% into print and 40% into social or digital marketing, that's fine too. But I would rather see people go the way of digital or social advertising and marketing, because you're going to reach a lot of your key clients or your key demographics on social networks. Now, that said, if you have a lot of older customers, you're not going to hit them up on your cell phone or a tablet. Most of them, and no disrespect meant, are going to be in traditional forms, the old tradition, which was print or in a newspaper. So go that way. See where your people are. If you see the results are skewing younger, then go social. That's what I would go. That's what I would look at.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with you, Jason, there. And I always say start with the persona that your customer focuses on. So we work with a lot of manufacturers, and just a simple example of a manufacturer that does walk-in coolers and walk-in freezers and refrigeration at a commercial level. Their target audience are the grocery store owners, the bar owners, and a lot of times these owners don't even have internet during the day. They're not accessible there. So they're very successful with a blend between paid search and catalog advertising. So really always fall back to developing a persona for the audience, understand where they hang out, what they have access to, what resonates with them, and test and do a couple tests and measure it. And print is not what it used to be. There's a lot of customization and personalization that happens on print, as well as an increased level of trackability within print. It's not going to be as trackable as paid search or a social media campaign, but it will. You can still, with different phone numbers and different calls to action, you can still try to get a sense for how that's performing, and then feed the eagles and kill the turkeys at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Wait, what? He was all over this hangout.
We use that all the time. You don't get it.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. So the next question we have is, where are email, Facebook, and Google advertising going? Bashara, I'm going to start with you and Google advertising. Where is it going?
Sure. On the paid search and specifically the AdWords front, Google is always innovating. My team and I were at Google a couple months ago to look at what's coming down the pike, and it's overwhelming. I mean, there's improvement and innovation across the board. Some of the things that really stuck out to me, where I saw it's going to the features that will impact us most this coming year is two of them. I'll mention two of them. One of them is phone tracking and dynamic phone numbers. Google has made it very clear that they're making a push into that direction. So this is a territory that was dominated by If by Phone and Mongoose Metrics and some of the companies that allowed advertisers to generate a large number of phone numbers, associate them with campaigns. So just like we track conversions on the web, we can track conversions through the phone. So Google has already implemented phone numbers and tracking phone numbers within their ads, and I feel like they're going to keep pushing towards implementing phone numbers on your site. So the same phone number that shows on your ad shows within your site and dynamically changes based on where people came from to your site, so you can have that 360 degree of tracking. So that's one area that I feel is gonna be more adopted, and it's just going to be more beneficial and is going to give us a complete picture. The other area is dynamic ads, where especially like Google Shopping on the e-commerce front, where it was harder to develop ads that are relevant, especially when you have a store that has thousands of products. With dynamic ads, Google is trying to help advertisers create more relevant ads based on the products that people are interested in dynamically, so we don't have to create thousands of ads. So that's another area. On the non-feature front, I feel like we're going to continue to see an increased number of impressions and clicks coming from mobile devices. So my message to those who participate is make sure your ads are built with mobile users in mind, so you don't assume that people are going to see those ads on their desktops. And the second side of the coin is make sure your landing page is responsive. So keep in mind that customer journey coming from mobile and cater to them.
Awesome. Michelle or Jason, do you guys want to weigh in on the other parts of the question related to where email and Facebook going?
So, Michelle, if you want to answer, go ahead, and then I'll jump in.
No, go ahead, Jason.
Go ahead, Jason.
Okay, great. You know, I'll be honest with you. I'd like to see Facebook do a little bit of a better job with advertising, and the reason I say that is I don't think their ads, and at least from what I've seen, it's not ads that we're doing for clients, but ads that I've seen others do for clients. I really think it can be done better, and maybe that's not just from Facebook side of things, but as professionals, you need to look at the people you're working with and what are they doing for you? How are they making sure you're getting in front of the people you need to see? Making sure that they understand what Facebook is doing, how it works, how it can work to your advantage with advertising. I think you really need to kind of hit the nail on the head with the people you're working with and finding out if they can get you in front of the eyes you need to get in front of. And frankly, you can do all the Facebook advertising you want. I can develop an ad today for doing something, but if it's not getting in front of someone that needs to see it, what's the use? It's wasted money, it's wasted time, and frankly, I've just wasted what my client is doing and what they've paid me to go and do Facebook advertising. So the bottom line is make sure you're working with the right people that are doing these advertising. You know, and I think that's the one thing too that comes back overall. In 2015, we need to realize that if we're not working with the right people on these avenues, we need to find people that are going to work, and the smart people. And I say this with all due respect, with everyone on this webinar, we're all looking out for our clients and the people we work with to make sure we're doing the best for them. And I think that's what we need to look for people who are doing work for us, or if you're doing work for clients. You need to find out, especially with social media, because it's getting so difficult now to hit people. I know it sounds odd to say that, but with all the networks that are out there, how are you going to reach your audience? You have to figure out which network is good, and in most times people use Facebook. So figure out the way on Facebook you can use it the right way, and if you find the right way to use it, then continue to look at the statistics and make sure you're going in the right direction, because then you'll start seeing the money come in, and frankly, you'll start seeing your business grow as well.
Yeah, and I think as marketing becomes more complex, there is going to be, to your point, sort of specialties, right? People are going to have deep knowledge in one area because nobody can keep up with everything all at once. Just to answer, Cass, the question on the email front, where I think email is going, I think from an email service provider, the ESPs, they are becoming sort of more integrated platforms, right? So they are becoming not only email providers, but they're pushing out to social, they're pushing out to mobile, and so they're becoming sort of more of a campaign management system in a lot of cases, and different ESPs have evolved in different ways. But I think that email continues to be sort of a foundational campaign element, and they're broaching into some of these new areas like social, like mobile, in order to create integrated campaigns from one platform.
Yeah, we're seeing that as well. And just to add one thing to this conversation, which is that we saw a tremendous amount of money wasted last year, specifically as it relates to mobile social. So whether or not people were doing Facebook advertising or spending a whole lot of money on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever, we know that mobile usage for all of the social platforms is incredibly high. And what would happen is, like, you think about the action that you want people to take. For instance, you might want them to click through and check out a webinar, or you might want them to click through and buy a product or whatever it is. But if when they clicked through, that experience was bad on mobile, people lost a lot of money. And they lost a lot of goodwill too. So what I'm really looking forward to in 2015 is the idea that people and companies are really going to be able to create the connection between where the people are in the social networks and where the business is, sometimes on the websites, and making sure that that relationship holds true, and that relationship across the board and throughout the process really delivers something valuable to the customer or the user. Michelle, I have this question for you.
It's also the message too.
Oh, yep. Yeah, also the message.
No, I was just going to say, it's also the message. If that message on Facebook or the advertising message you're putting out there is bland, or it doesn't look right, forget it. You've lost someone already before you even had a chance to get started.
Yeah, it's true.
Michelle, this question is for you, and I think that it's a good kind of next step for this conversation. Where is mobile marketing going?
Well, I think, like I was saying at the beginning of the webinar, I think that 2014 was an amazing foundational year. I think a lot of companies were trying to jump in, get their feet wet, trying to figure out what mobile is going to mean for their business. And I think that in 2015, people are going to get more sophisticated. I think that we're going to see huge advances on how people are interacting with their consumers on mobile, because as marketers, we've been trying to chase the customer. The customer has become more sophisticated on mobile devices, and we've been trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we engage with them without being intrusive, in a way that's effective, that type of thing. So I think that we're going to see more testing and more sophisticated use of mobile from a campaign perspective. And then, of course, in 2014, I think everything went responsive. So I think we've got a good foundation there. We're going to, continue to see, I think, some really good progress in 15 with mobile interaction and how we use it in marketing.
Good, thank you. Jason, this question is for you. What role do you see for integrated media and integrated marketing as part of the future of marketing?
Well, I think that obviously the key there is integrated. If you've got to bring it together, and I think the one thing that bugs me the most when I look at projects is you're not marrying things. You're sort of looking at things as one silo. I know we've heard for years you have to break the silos down and we work together. But I think when you talk about integrated media and integrated marketing, the future to me looks very bright. I think we're seeing a lot of people understanding that you need to take what you're doing online or on the TV. As far as I look at it from a TV perspective, being an old TV guy, is how can you take what you're doing on TV and bringing it into how you do things as let's say as a station. For example, having worked at NBC 10 in Philadelphia back in the day before we even had Facebook and Twitter, et cetera, you're trying to drive people to the website as well, even back then. Now you're integrating your website into what you're doing with the news, with your news online, and even on the radio. You're seeing web clips from radio highlights, streamed on Twitter. SoundCloud is a perfect example of that, as far as taking clips from shows and putting them in tweets. With Facebook, people they're putting actual news segments on Facebook. So by bringing both together, and I think it'll also help television ratings too. That's the way I look at it from a television and marketing perspective. Is I think doing the right things with integrated marketing and integrating it with the media as far as television, radio, etc. We've seen it already. Look how many things that ABC does during their whole hour of Scandal, Grey's Anatomy, and How to Get Away with Murder. Every one of their stars are on social media during the show, tweeting. And so from my perspective, that's a home run. You're getting people to understand the ABC brand. You know that Scandal is associated with ABC. What better marketing could you want?
Michelle or Bashara, do you guys want to add in terms of integrated marketing? Okay, we have plenty more questions to go. I'm just going to pause.
I think Jason did a good job covering that question, so it's hard to add to that.
I'm going to pause and just remind everybody that we are taking your questions live using hashtag SWEBINAR or tweeting them at SliceComm, SLICECOMM. Okay, this next question is for Bashara. Bashara, we've talked a little bit earlier about looking at data and a lot about the sexy trends that are developing this year in 2015. What are some things that companies need to do before they can take advantage of those trends? Asked another way, what are the basics they need to do first?
Sure, and I think we covered a little bit of this question before. And talking about analytics, if you're using Google Analytics, if you have not moved to Universal Analytics, which is the new way and the way you should be set up right now, you should do that. Convert over to Universal Analytics. The classic code is being sunsetted. It's not going to be supported by Google anymore. So Universal will get you future-proof as well as allow you to run reports that you have not been able to do that before. So that's definitely one way to do it. The other thing is either work with your webmaster or your marketing consultant to make sure your goals are being tracked. Again, think about, as a company, what are your goals and objectives? Take those business goals and objectives, translate them into key performance indicators and metrics that you can measure on the website. Install those, make sure you have a mechanism within Google Analytics to track them. And then build yourself a dashboard that you'll iterate on every month. Visit that dashboard every month with your team and say, here are the efforts that we did. Here's how they translated into impact on our KPIs and our metrics. And positive or negative, you come up with tweaks and adjustments that you'll try again next month. And that's how we really work with our clients. So there's if you're a do-it-yourselfer, if you have a marketing team on staff, take a look. I mean, it's shocking to me how many prospects come to us and we say, all right, give us access to your analytics so we can take a look before we start talking about how we can help you. And they either don't know where the credentials are, or they've never logged in, or they have no clue what's going on in there. So, monitor your analytics. That's your speedometer as a business. Yeah.
I think there's some universal pain that this panel is all feeling when you say that there are companies that come and say, oh, we don't have analytics, or we haven't looked at them, or we don't know how to access them. So I would say one thing that people should do is take an analytics class, get to know your analytics, And the other thing is probably do some link tagging, right, to make sure that your analytics and your data is really good. And if you don't know what link tagging is, there is a blog on Slice's website, shameless plug, that will teach you how to do link tagging, so just Google it or search for it in our website. Michelle, this question is for you. What would you recommend for people that are new to integrated or digital marketing?
Oh, goodness. Honestly, and I've had this question asked to me before, start basic. You know, start by, I guess, signing up for Google News Feed and keeping abreast of the latest trends. Just start reading. In all honesty, there are so many marketing publications that talk about things from the basics to things that are advanced that people can sort of just become steeped in, and set time each day to read those articles, even if you just get all of the headlines and delve into the articles that you have time to read and from start to finish. Just stay educated. It's a very rapidly changing field, but there are a lot of outlets that will take you from the foundational to the advanced, and that's what I would say for those starting out is start reading, start educating yourself, sign up for webinars, sign up for classes and tutorials, and just really delve in.
Yeah. If I may add, one thing is a great resource that's often overlooked is our meetups. Take a look at your local geography. There are meetups everywhere. I'll do our shameless plug. We have our digital marketing meetup on the main line right outside of Philadelphia. So if you're in the area, attend. It's very educational. There's no sales, no nothing. We pick a topic every month. Last month was e-commerce, and we did a deep dive on e-commerce. A lot of business owners come out, and it's eye-opening, highly educational, and it's fun. So check out the meetups in your area.
Absolutely.
For sure. Okay, Jason, this question is for you. Is LinkedIn going to be all that it is expected to be? Is Radio, Pandora, or Spotify better?
All right, I'll talk about the second half of that question first. I love Spotify. Huge Spotify fan. I went on a big rant when Taylor Swift yanked her music off of there, and that's not because I like Taylor Swift. Because I was so heartbroken. But
it's okay, Jason.
I was. Now if AC/DC if Led Zeppelin decided to pull it off of there, then I'd be having a big problem. But anyway, the bottom line for me is I love Spotify, and I think they're better. But my wife loves Pandora. And we don't use radio that much, and I don't mean the traditional radio, I mean radio, the platform. I like Spotify because I can get a lot of music on there, and I feel like it's, especially since I'm signed up for it, I can listen in the car, I can listen to my music, I can listen to music that I want to, and I don't feel like I have to download it from iTunes. So for me, Spotify is better, but I've heard plenty of people say they love Pandora. And so from my perspective, this is just my personal feeling, I love Spotify, but I don't have a problem with Pandora. I'm not going to talk on radio because I don't use it that much, and so I don't want to come at it like from an expert perspective and say you need to use it or you shouldn't use it. As far as LinkedIn goes, I always think LinkedIn is really good. When I'm speaking at whether it be a convention or to student groups or even to professionals, I tell them they need to understand how to use LinkedIn the best that they can, because it can be a great advantage. I've made plenty of connections through LinkedIn, but you have to know how to use it. So take the time to really, really look into how to use LinkedIn. Use courses. Heck, I'm happy to give you some time and show you how to use it the right way. The bottom line for LinkedIn is if you understand the right way to use it, share your content on there, a blog, something you've learned, post, but also update your qualifications on there a lot as far as your resume, but join groups. You're going to find LinkedIn a lot better for yourself, and you're going to find it a lot easier to use. Don't just think of it as, oh, LinkedIn. Think of it as, LinkedIn.
We have a follow-up question to that one, which is, what are the best B2B platforms? Will LinkedIn continue to be the major player here, or do we see others rising? Jason, do you want to start with that one?
Do I see LinkedIn as far as being taken over by someone else in that sense?
Yeah,
is that what kind of the question is?
Yeah, is there another B2B platform, B2B marketing platform that might be better or that's rising?
You know, I haven't, personally, I haven't seen something that will say, wow, I'm going to jump to that for, instead of LinkedIn and using that. I mean, I think that from my perspective, I think we're seeing, you know, Twitter being used, obviously, to have businesses talk with each other and work with each other. But I think LinkedIn's a really great way, and I think a lot of professionals, from my perspective, see it as a way where they can reach out in an atmosphere where they don't feel like they're getting through the noise, as people call it on Twitter. So I haven't seen something right now that's told me, wow, LinkedIn, I got to go over and leave LinkedIn behind and use something else. So LinkedIn is still is still the best arrow in my quiver when it comes to B2B and networking with other professionals.
Bashar, Michelle, do you guys have any thoughts on LinkedIn or other social media or marketing platforms to connect with B2B audiences?
I mean, at the end of the, I'm sorry, can I go first, Michelle?
Go ahead.
All right, cool. With B2B, it really comes down to your audience. You need to understand the persona of your audience, who they are, what resonates with them, and where do they hang out. And if your research comes out that this is where they hang out, they're on LinkedIn groups, and they're asking questions and looking for answers there, then this is the best place for you to highlight your skills and come across as a thought leader. Because at the end of the day, that's what I believe LinkedIn allows you to do. It allows you to showcase your skills, and when it comes to groups, it allows you to answer from a thought leadership perspective. And it allows you to give yourself the shameless plug at the end where if people want more, they can contact you. Now, for certain niche products in B2B, especially in manufacturing, there may be other forums that are highly specialized for that particular niche. But again, you will only discover those if you do proper market research, competitive research, and persona development, so you know where your people hang out, in a sense, and you want to hang out where they do. So that would be the approach I'd recommend.
And I actually have a little presentation that I give on B2B social media marketing trends that I'll post on the Slice website so that people can check out some of the new research and new data. I have a question real quick. Oh, that came in through Twitter that I want to make sure that we ask. Do you think real-time social interaction is something that can be worked into an online marketing strategy, and how? Michelle, do you want to start with that one? Real-time social interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it has to be. If you're going to put your brand out there on a social presence, somebody has to be listening, right? The whole point of social is it's bidirectional conversation and engagement. So if you are just using social as a platform to preach and to speak at your audience, it's going to be a turnoff really, really quickly. You have to have an audience or a community manager, somebody that's there, that's listening to inbound questions, that's facilitating conversation, and that should be part of your social strategy when you kick it off. Another question that I had from some small businesses at some conferences that I've spoken to is, when do we add additional social channels? And it really comes down to staffing. Don't launch more social channels than you can support and communicate with that audience, because if you launch multiple channels, whether it be sort of multiple flavors on a single platform or splitting yourself out into too many platforms, you're not going to be able to keep up with the audience, and it's just going to be a real big brand turnoff. So absolutely must, absolute must.
One thing to add there, I think one of the challenges when you're working with a large, when you're a large company with real time, is the people or the team staffing that channel and what comes within their jurisdiction versus what's outside of their jurisdiction, and what areas they're comfortable responding to in real time and which ones they're not. And this is where a lot of standard operating procedures come in, doing the prep work, identifying standard answers, and identifying the limits of that team, and a procedure for them to escalate and get a response in semi-real-time fashion to satisfy that consumer. Because consumers at this point have an expectation that they're going to be answered in real time. So this is where, as part, the question mentioned strategy. Yes, and within your strategy, you need to identify those standard operating procedures that allow you to be responsive in real time and have canned responses for when you can't, or and this is where crisis management and all that comes into place. So yes, if it's planned within the strategy.
Got it. Awesome.
I'm going
Okay, so
to get on to Bashar just real quick. Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Jason.
Okay, no, I was just going to jump on it and just kind of jumping on what Bashar and what Michelle said. And for me, it's you really have to find the right people to operate your social channel if you're going to have community managers, because we've seen enough times, especially on Twitter, the responses that the community managers, or in some senses the business owners, have to tweets to try to be try to be funny on Twitter, but they don't understand that they're not really they don't have a plan in place, or they don't really get it. You need to make sure that you have people that get it, that are going to be running your social platforms, because if you don't, it's going to end up hurting your business, but it's going to ruin your reputation. If you built one up that's one of a real good one, it's going to turn it into a real bad one real fast. So you really need to identify the people that are going to be running your operation on social networks, and making sure you're hiring good, smart people who can A, think on their feet, and B, get it when it comes to social.
Yeah, there's a Bulldog Reporter article this morning in their newsletter that talked about how 2015 will continue to see meltdowns on social media, both from corporations and from politicians. And I think that's due to bad planning, or just bad management, or maybe just having not the right people, as you mentioned. Okay, we only have a couple minutes left. I have a couple more questions that I want to get through. Michelle, what is the most interesting thing you're seeing coming out of CES, and what impact will that have on marketing in 2015?
So the headlines coming out of CES this year are really focused on the data. I think that there are amazing advances in the Internet of Things, connected cars, and wearables that are really just pointing, all of those things are pointing to the fact that we're going to have all of this data. And as marketers, they're seeing more and more marketers going to CES as a profession. It's a consumer electronics show, and previously it was really brands who are unveiling new products, and engineers and people in that space. But now a lot of marketers are starting to go there, and I wouldn't be surprised if by next year you're really going to see a lot of marketers going to understand what are the new products that are being unveiled, so that they can get a head start on what kind of data that they're going to have access to. And so, a lot of just, I think, excitement around the possibility of leveraging this data. I know the Apple iWatch is, people are starting to think about how can they use that data to interact with people in real time with NRF or near field opportunities, and when they're walking past a certain store, can they be targeted with a specific advertisement, etc. But of course the big caution that we as marketers need to consider is, how do we do that in a way that's a benefit to the user, and not sort of a deluge of advertising, or the Apple iWatch, for instance, or the Apple Watch, for instance, loses its appeal to the user if it's just an ad platform on the wrist. So I think it's something to watch, and I think it'll be exciting to see over the course of the next year and into 2016.
Awesome. Bashara or Jason, have you guys seen anything interesting and relevant coming out of CES this year? How about wearables, Bashara? How are wearables going to change?
I think Michelle was right in saying how much data is going to be generated by all the wearables. I think fitness trackers and all that. I think the Apple iWatch is definitely an appealing proposition for us marketers, because how awesome would it be to use near-field communications to fire up very, very geocentric, relevant ads to consumers as they enter your store, or as they pass by your store, as they're leaving their store. Almost like, imagine like a remarketing, but in real life. It's like, oh, you're walking out of whatever, Cabela's, walk back in and we're going to give you 20% off your purchase. It's there are some really awesome methods and strategies that could be implemented there, but again, it's going to be policed properly and all that. I think what's going to happen is, just like smartphones and then tablets were added to the ad marketplaces as mobile devices, I think wearables will be the next thing to be added there, and I think that's great. The other thing that I think we're going to push into is pet wearables. I saw a couple startups that attended CES, and pet owners are typically they're affluent. They love their pets like crazy, and they're fanatics about what their pet is doing behind their back when they're at work or whatever. So I totally see it going in that direction, and then we're going to have way too much data that we don't know what to do with. But,
right.
Yes.
I can't wait to see what Apollo is doing all the time when he's with me or without me. Michelle, but with all of this data and all of these opportunities, how should companies be respectful? How can they make sure they're being respectful and sensitive to their customers while still taking advantage of some of these opportunities?
Oh, goodness. I think it's going to be a lot of trial and error. I think we're going to see some companies push the envelope and probably, irritate some of their customers, and we'll see some pushback, and we'll, figure out the fine-tuning there. But, it's a good opportunity, too, to apply a lot of analytics to all of this data, as Bashar was saying, and figure out, what's worth using and what's just noisy data.
And it seems to me that one of the key terms for 2014, at least in the tech startup world, was this idea of failing fast. And that might be a good philosophy to apply in 2015 as we look at some of these marketing trends and opportunities that are new. The idea of try something, learn from it, fail fast, and then try something else. Michelle, I have a very specific question for you that we received from an audience member. It says, I'd be interested in hearing how the 2015 marketing best practices or trends apply specifically to healthcare marketing.
Well, I think healthcare marketing has a really interesting challenge in that, they're often, well, there's a couple things. Obviously, they've got the HIPAA privacy to be concerned about. And honestly, when you're trying to do healthcare branding, you're trying to do it, hopefully, when your audience is healthy and they don't know that they need you until they need you, right? So in some of the conversations that I've had with some of our healthcare brands, it's really sort of figuring out how they can do content marketing effectively. And a lot of this has to do with recipes, health tips and tricks, fitness trends, so that they are providing value to their constituents before they are in dire need of healthcare services. So I think that there's a lot of content marketing on the web and creating that community and that hub that they're thinking through as far as value to their constituency.
Yeah.
I have to follow up on that real quick, Michelle, because we all have had this pressure of, can you tell me if my marketing is providing ROI? It's providing ROI. And it sounds like in healthcare marketing, there's something related to it being a longer sales cycle, especially when you're selling to people when they're healthy. How can people in healthcare marketing balance that, this demand and these requests for proving ROI, while really trying to understand that you're marketing to healthy people who might not need your product or service right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is brand awareness, and unfortunately, it's really kind of funny. As we get more sophisticated with our digital, we have sort of a higher expectation that we can monitor the ROI and effectiveness of everything that we do, because digital kind of is inherently measurable. But when you think through, say, social marketing and different sort of facets of digital, it's not. Some of it you have to create that leap of faith. Social acts like word of mouth marketing. You're not going to be able to track back every little instance, and so there are going to be certain KPIs that you can measure, and some of it's going to be faith. I mean, it really is sort of that brand influence, brand awareness, especially for this type of content marketing for healthcare.
Okay, we're going to wrap up now. I've got one more question for each of you. Jason, I'm going to start with you. What is the one thing that you would like the audience today to take away that will help them be successful in 2015?
Wow. You know what, honestly, it's to be honest with your audience. Be honest with your clients. Be honest with your people that follow you on social media. And I know that sounds sort of old school in the way that, oh, be honest and be forthright, but to me, I think if we saw a lot more honesty with people on social media, there would be a lot more trust. We always tell clients to make sure you're being open and transparent. That way, if there's a crisis and something happens to you, people are more apt to trust you. I hope that marketers and people and clients and businesses in general understand that in this day and age, the more honest you are, and I'm not saying tell everybody everything. What I am saying, as long as you're open with what you're talking about, and as long as you're telling people really the truth and what you stand for, people are more apt to trust, and I think you're going to see your sales go up too. People want to believe in you. They want to like you. So be more honest, be more open and transparent, and I think in 2015 you'll see your business succeed by that.
Awesome. Bashara, same question.
I thought I'd get an easier one.
One thing that you want the audience to take away to be successful in 2015.
You know, 2015 is the year you should kick it old school, and here's why. All the search algorithms are pointing in a direction where we're headed back to what I would call natural marketing. Especially on the organic front. I mean, when you're paying for the ads and when you're putting out billboards, you can be however you want to be. But when you want to naturally attract people to your site or to your presence or position yourself as a thought leader, as the Google search algorithm evolves and Bing, it's being trained and it's being tweaked to notice natural trends and identify those who should be successful from those who are trying to position as successful. Meaning, when you write articles on your site, write them from a thought leadership perspective, educate your consumers, don't try to sell. It's old school stuff. Like, back in the day, it's word of mouth. And what generated word of mouth is you knowing how to do your stuff and being able to communicate that. So get good at what you do and communicate it naturally, and the search gods will reward you.
Okay, Michelle, last question to you. Same question. What do people need to do to be successful in 2015?
Absolutely. Well, I have to absolutely agree with both Jason and Bashara, and I will add to that actually what you already said. So it's test, test, test. It's fail fast, right? Try new things, figure out what works for your audience, make sure that you're monitoring your data so that you can see what is working and what's not working, and move on and keep iterating. It's agile marketing, right?
Amen.
For sure. Amen. Okay, so that is all the time that we have for today. I'd like to thank our panelists for their time, insights, and expertise, and I'd really like to thank our audience for all of the really insightful, thoughtful questions that you sent our way. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of them, but if you want to ask them to our panelists via Twitter, feel free. This webinar in its entirety will be saved here on our website, so you can come back to watch it, share it, or send our panelists follow-up questions. Our team here at Slice is planning our next virtual roundtable, our next webinar, and we'd love to know what marketing, PR, social media, or communications topics you'd like to address in the future. So please feel free to send us those suggestions via Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. We're on all three. Or you could just send them to us by contacting us on our website. Thank you again so much to our panelists and to our audience. I wish everybody an incredibly successful and profitable 2015. Thank you, and we will talk to you again soon.